Hi, everybody. Welcome to Game On, where Dara and I will share our play on RealCanasta.
Thanks for joining us. A lot of people have asked us to do another one of these. If you haven't played on RealCanasta yet, we do have a separate video on our YouTube channel where we go through and just explain how to play itself on the game, just how the game is set up. And just to let you know, we are not affiliated. We do not get any benefits from recommending RealCanasta. It's just this is the game that we play on, and when we teach, this is how we demonstrate. So first, since we are playing and we don't want to interrupt or share anybody else's um, name or anything like that, you have choices of game speed. Do you think slow or medium for this?
Medium.
Okay, so we'll do medium. If you are new, we highly suggest you do slow or medium so you have enough time to see when the cards are discarded. If you do it on fast and you're playing with 3 bots, it's very quickly your turn again. We play with a mel base of 5. So we have 5 down. So that means you need 5 natural cards before you can add a wild card. And this is after opening. We're going to do invisible mode, like I said. So we're not going to be sharing anybody else's screen name. And we'll get started. So tell me if you think I'm summarizing this correctly, Donna. I think we agree 98% on strategy, but maybe I'm a little bit of a riskier player. You're more of a conservative player.
Yes, yes. So you're going to get, and you're going to get our thinking. We're going to do this jointly. And yeah, so let's take a look at how we opened here.
And I'm thinking when we taught for AARP, people were like, wait, what are those cards on the side? So if you're new to this and this is the first video of ours you're watching, you are looking at a bird's eye view down to the table. So where it says press pick, those are our cards. And then computer 1, 2, and 3, as you see, if you also play real mahjong, you'll see that that goes counterclockwise. Everything in canasta goes clockwise. So computer 1 is to our left, computer 2 is our partner across from us, computer 3 is to our right. So the first thing I do, and you could put it on automatic, you can go to options and you could do auto sort. I personally kind of like making myself sort the cards. I don't know why. That's just something I do. Donna, for this video, do you think we auto meld 3s or turn it off to make people remember to do 3s?
It's a good question. I think we've had it on in the past. Just
Okay.
folks, remember when you're playing live, you got to remember, like I know my ABCs, I will replace my 3s.
And the only reason that you wouldn't have auto meld 3s on online is the one and only special hand you can go for that includes a 3, which is the straight, which is one of every card. So if you start and it's, you have an ace, a 2, a joker, you have all of those, and you have a 3, you got to hurry up and turn off that auto melds if you're going to go for that. If you keep it in your hand, you're stuck with the 3 the whole round, and RealCanasta does not let that be your final last discard. So much to learn, and we haven't even picked our first card. So,
Yeah.
so as many of you might know, I right away look to see how far I am from a special hand. This is what I do in mahjong. I look right away to see where my singles and pairs are. Right away, we look special hand. The interesting thing is I cannot discard this 7 because I am the first player and it's an empty pile. So that does not come up often. The risk of that is if computer 1 or 3 get a special hand on their first pick, we would be stuck with 7s. I think I've seen that once in all my years of playing, but so I normally like to keep low cards if I have high value cards because I think those are the ones that will be thrown to me. But since I have no pairs or triples here, and we have so many low value cards, I would throw probably the 5 or the 6.
I agree. And one of the things that's nice if you're a newer player, it won't let you do things like throw a 7 on an empty tray, so it reinforces the rules.
Right. Do you think I should turn off the beeping of the computer? Do you think that's...
I can't hear it.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
So our partner threw a 10. I think it's good to watch what your partner is throwing. You cannot talk. And that is another clue, or could be a clue.
So this is interesting. It's very early. The other team, it's 125 for everybody. We now have the points as soon as we get a triple. I
Which we
personally
don't
now,
even have a double of.
right now that we have three of a kind and three of a kind, if they weren't aces and sevens, I would say, okay, maybe we'd go for the zip code. What's interesting is there's the only card that there's four of is the Joker. So
Yes.
since that's the only card that there's four of, it's harder to complete a special hand when you need the Joker. So at this point, that third seven makes me more nervous than that third ace.
It does. And the other thing, Dara, is we don't have a pair to get that pure.
Mhm.
And we need to get rid of stuff that's not going to help us. So
Yeah,
yes,
Donna
I
uses the
agree.
expression valuable real estate. You have to think of each card on your rack as valuable real estate. You need to make space for a 5, an 8, a 10, a jack, a king. We need a natural. So
Our
we threw a
partners, so
7. So the computers are programmed to do what's known as signaling. And they do it in the same way that an average player does it. So if you throw a 7, and like Donna said, you can't talk, but if you throw a 7, if a player signals, what that signals to the other partner is that you have 2 of those in your hand. Now, in our book, we wrote Modern American Canasta, the complete guide. We go through a lot of things that we call our false signaling. If I am going for a special and I only need one card and I have a 7 in my hand, but that's not part of my special, I'm going to throw it, and that doesn't mean I have 2 in hand. If I am opening at 180 and I need all the points to get to that 180, I'm going to throw a 7 because I want to pick other cards back. So there's many reasons, and that's why when people ask me, do you signal? I kind of go sometimes, which clearly isn't a science. So just because I threw the 7, our team did, our partner, computer 2, is assuming we have 2, and they threw a 7. Now they could be false signaling also, but
well, they're programmed 90% of the time, from what we understand, to play signaling sevens. So they followed our sevens.
and when you end a game, you will notice sometimes that they'll end with 3 sevens in hand, even though they had time to get rid of it, because they're playing like an average player and they might be going for a special or that. So now the one card we threw, so we don't have any 6s. And at this time, yes, of course, the other team could get a special and we'd be stuck with aces, but we really need those points. For now, I think it's safe to keep. I mean, we could always get rid of it, because if we did get 2 more 10s or 2 more jacks or 2 more kings, we would have the points we need.
Correct. Oh, another 7.
So now I'm going to throw. So right now we threw 2 and our partner threw 1.
So we're 3.
The way that I count sevens is I make aces and sevens a 2-digit number. So right now there's 0 aces, even though we've been talking, I think there's 0 aces, and there's
Yes.
3 sevens. So right now, to me, the number of the deck is 3, because 0 for the 20s, the 20s, 10s position, and 3 for the 1 position.
Okay, let's see.
All right, so we finally have a pair.
Good.
At this point, I think I would throw either the 8, 10 or jack.
You know what? Our partner threw a 10 before.
Okay. And you could
So
always go back and see what, oh, so
because
that's interesting. Computer 1 threw a 4. Maybe we throw a 4. There's 16 cards. Are we looking to protect the pack at this point?
no,
Okay.
I think you save it for later. But there's probably less chance of getting a second 4 as well.
Right.
So there's 2 thoughts
But
there.
it's well, and good. Our partner's
Hello,
gonna help us.
partner. They're opening.
Oh,
I
they might be
wonder if
doing
it's
wild.
wild.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. So if you play, now chat's only available when you're with live players. If you play and somebody opens, usually you'll see TYP for thank you partner. And then a lot of times you'll see MPP for my pleasure partner or something like that. That is acceptable chat. Now, somebody asked us in our Facebook group the other day, they mismelded or they picked the pack and they thought they had 7s and they realized they only had 5. Is it okay to say, oh, I thought there'd be 7, there's only 5? Stuff like that is not allowed. You can't talk about your hand. You can't talk about the cards, the discards, none of that. You could say thank you. I mean, that's, etiquette is
That's
still
it.
alive and well.
That's it.
Okay, so there's no
You
reason. Now,
immediately put our
right.
wilds, right?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. If it was the end of the game and the other team was going to clearly win unless we got a certain amount of points and you knew it, maybe I would wait for the joker, because 4 jokers in a wild card canasta gives you more points. Since this is
Okay.
the first round and they haven't opened and we just want to get points, and I am not waiting for that joker. I am closing that wild card. And then now that we know that
Now
there's
we
no
throw.
aces in the pack, I am getting rid of our, because if you're new to this game, at the end of each round, if you have more than 2 aces or more than 2 sevens per player, it's a penalty of 1,500 points.
And we're holding 2 aces in our hand to see what happens with our opponents until we see what happens with them, because they may not open with.
So now, before we saw, we're not gonna throw them the king because we have a pair. And most new players, I think the number one email we get, other than how come something's not working, is how come I'm never the one that picks the pack. And we have lots of videos on our channel about what's a safe discard and things like that. You want to keep cards in hand. Right now, there's nothing to add to the melds, but if our partner had 3 kings down, we wouldn't be adding our 2 kings because we'd want to pick the pack with kings. So I'm going to get rid of the 4.
Yes, that's what I would do.
And it's interesting that they haven't opened yet with only a 125 opening.
Well, we had all those wild cards. They probably don't have the points. We have 3 jokers. And
Yeah.
unless you have a couple of wild cards, folks, you can't open. So they threw a 7. So
So
that's
now,
4.
so if there's one more 7, we're picking the pack.
Right. He must have 2.
So at this point,
What are we going to throw?
maybe the 5.
Yeah, the 5 of the. We haven't seen any 5s out. We haven't seen any of these.
So should we do the jack?
Yeah, let's throw the jack. Throw us the king.
So right now, if they threw us a king, would you pick the pack knowing we would need one more 7 and there's only 12 cards left?
Oh, I hadn't thought that far. Huh.
If they threw us a 7, for sure.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's a lot of bad stuff in there, and they have not opened with aces either, and they have a lot of 3s. We don't have that many 3s. We don't need the second canasta.
Yeah, and we definitely don't have aces.
Right,
So
and they just threw an ace. I
if
probably
for some reason, I'm sorry, if we knew there were 5 sevens in the pack, if we'd be stuck with aces in hand, or actually if the ace was on top, we'd have to meld aces. But if we knew that we could offset the 2,500 of not closing the aces with closing the 7s, then it would be worth it, because then we could close all these other pure canastas, because there's a ton of pure canastas in here.
Right.
But since
Right.
we'd be stuck with aces and 7s, so let's see what they put out. So they did 8s, 9s, 6s, and 10s. I guess maybe a 9.
Who opened? They opened on the right.
Yeah.
They threw a king the last time, the guy on the left.
And at this point, unless the 7's in the pack, we're not picking the pack.
Right, because there's an extra ace. We threw an ace, he just threw an ace. There's too much bad stuff. And you know what? If we bait him and he picks the pack, well, so be it. They're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
So they match. Okay.
So if they get a second canasta, they get a big windfall, because they
Yeah.
have 4 red 3s for 1,000.
There's another ace there. Oh, and our partner's putting down some stuff.
Interesting.
Huh.
Well, they waited a long time to add all
I
this.
know. We don't know why. And you know what? They're programmed, but not perfectly. And our partner just threw an ace because we threw one.
Mhm.
Queen, let's pick. Can we match on anything?
Okay, so we'll definitely, so now is not the time to save cards. This is it. I mean, we're done here. So
Right.
whatever we have to match, unless of course we'd be throwing a card that would be safe. So 8s are safe. And the reason 8s are
Well,
safe,
throw another king. We threw a king from before.
well, I mean, we know for a fact that 8s are safe.
Oh, because ace is in 5
yeah.
position. Yeah,
Of course,
throw an ace.
if we threw a card that they would want and pick the pack, they would probably be, other than an ace or a 7, they'd be stuck. But we don't want to chance them closing all those.
But we want to hold them from getting a second canasta.
Mhm. Oh, too bad that we don't have a wild card, although we gotta hope for a
Well,
queen.
we had a wild, oh, we had the other, we had the other big joker.
Uh,
I'm surprised they could open.
yeah. So, I mean, we might as well get the 5 points by putting it
Yeah,
down
sure.
because we have, if we didn't have this 8, then I would have discarded the
Yeah,
6.
yeah, because
But
it's split. Okay. Well, interesting round.
yeah, so now you could see they break it down and total it. The only thing that they don't break down totally is the card count because that's all done behind the scenes of all the cards. If you have no canastas, everything is negative. If you have one canasta, your 3s are ignored, but your cards on the table melded are counted. If you have 2 canastas, you get your 3s, you get your cards on the table, but you always subtract cards in hand. That's always.
And interesting to see what they ended up with. Um, the guy to our left probably threw aces and sevens because his partner had, but his partner's only got 1 ace and 1 7. Um, interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, all right, let's go on.
Okay.
I think the really important part is they didn't get their 3s because that 3 swing a game and they had a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So I am gonna make it a little quieter in my house 1 second while our partner opens.
Okay, oh, our partner opens. That partner's been doing really well. And looking at the score up there, oh, our partner's been pulling those jokers in. Looking at the score, we are right under 3,000 points. So we still need 125 points to open. So that's a good thing. We haven't used aces. Let's see what we got here. So we've got the 4, which
So what's
makes it
interesting is it says meld or discard. So that just shows that we already picked. If let's say we replaced our 3, we didn't pick, but we replaced a 3 and got that 4, then you could pick the pack. So whenever you start your turn playing in person, always replace your 3s first because that could give you entree to picking the pack.
and technically you're supposed to replace your 3s before you do anything, or you're going to get stuck with them.
Right. So my question for you is, we have a bunch of 3s this early. Would you put the 5s down so if our partner gets a 5, at least we don't get dinged by the 3s?
Interesting. There's only 3 cards out. And we're asked this a lot. When do you put down stuff? I think it's too early. They're not open. We have 3 jokers, 2 that are down and 1. It's impossible to open. We've been asked this question a lot of times if you don't have a joker or a couple of 2s.
Yeah, the only way you could do it is if you risked it by doing like aces pure or something like that. Otherwise, to get to the opening point value is near
Yeah,
impossible.
and aces pure is suicide early. So I'd say let's be a little patient and
So
wait.
would you get rid of, so my philosophy when people ask is I love keeping pairs of low cards because a lot of times that's what people just kind of get rid of to build, especially when they're at 180. So I would keep the pairs of anything, but especially the
Yes,
4s and 5s. So I
yes,
think we get rid of the
yes.
6 at this point.
Okay.
And sorry to keep him quiet. Sprout is joining us. So
Oh, I'll give you some. Now our partner put down 5s. Interesting.
yeah. So now at
And the
least we can
bots,
close
yeah, the
one.
bots are programmed to play like people. And I wouldn't have done it then, and we talked about it. We'll close out the 5s. But you want cards in your hand to pick the discard pile. And now they're opening. So I mean there's only
And what's
6
interesting is what the bot did is it now prevented us from being able to pick the pack with 5s.
with 5s. It would have been a
Once a
very
card
safe
is
card.
once a card has 5 or more, we call it 5th position or 6th position. Once a card has 5 or more melded, you must put down the top card that you pick it with. So if we had queens in hand, let's say, we would have to put down the pair of queens and the top card. So in the example with the 5s, if somebody threw a 5, we would have to put down the pair of 5s and the top card. That would give us more than a canasta. And you could never have more than 7. So That's why, I mean, now we'll close the fives. So now we protected our threes. We won't get a penalty for threes.
And
And
we have
now
a safe
trying-
discard.
Yeah. And now we're trying to build up to get to another canasta so we get the benefit. Now, question for you. There's only 7 cards. People ask this too. There's only 7 cards in the pack. They have 3 kings out. They have, I'm trying to see what other cards we overlap. Would you consider not using the 5, which is a safe discard, and saving it for when it's a big juicy pack, and for now throwing a king?
It's a thought. What did the bottom, what did they throw? I always like to look back
4.
3 cards. They threw a 4. Well,
Yeah, I would keep the 4 because we have a pair.
we have a pair. And what did they meld with kings? Well, there's a lot of 4s in there. You know, do we want to protect those? Good question.
And
What
the
else?
thing that's funny is we could throw the 5 this time, and obviously they couldn't pick it. We could throw the king this time. They might pick it, or in the next round, it could be the same exact cards and they don't pick it. Like if it was like duplicate bridge. So there's not one clear cut answer all the time. It's just, that's why a lot of times when teaching, I think of that a canasta player is like that image of somebody at the carnival that's spinning plates, and they have so many things. They have to keep them spinning fast so they don't fall. Each
Yeah.
discard is there's so many thoughts that go into it.
You know, this guy on the left sitting with a lot of cards. We haven't seen kings.
And
I
5
throw the 5. Yeah. And we'll watch what he throws. Now he put down 9s.
So now if we get a 9, we know a 9 is a
He had another 5, which a 9 is the perfect card.
And look what we get to do. So
Oh
we
my
have
God, we have the 10s.
They put a
Yay.
10 out. Since we're already open, there's no other requirement other than that we have the pair. Let's take the pack.
Yay. All
So
right.
now what I would do here, because I sorted my cards, I would only put out 3 of the 4s. And then this way they might think I put out all of them and throw us a 4.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Would you put down the queen at this? You know what? They don't have any canastas. I think that's a clue of, do we sit back and wait a little more?
I think we do.
Yeah.
So now, would you throw the 9, which,
Yes,
is safe, or would you throw the king because it's really only 1 card?
one card and we don't have anything. Yeah, this is probably the time to throw the king. Let's see if he
'Cause
had
even if
2.
they get it, yeah.
Yep,
So
he
even if
had
they
2,
get-
so that was a good choice that we didn't do it the hand before and give them the pack.
Yep, exactly. So that's okay. So they threw an 8. So right now there's no aces or 7s in the pile. So if you're accounting, you have to wipe the
Right.
slate clean, start over again.
There was a jack, we don't have a jack.
So the interesting thing is, if we put the 4s down, we would have 5 4s and our joker, and all we would need is 1 more card to make 2 canastas. Normally, I wouldn't do it this early. There's a lot of cards left, but they're down to 2 cards and 1 card away from a second canasta.
Oh, yep. See, you got to watch what's on the board. Absolutely, I agree.
So
That's
now
why
I
it's
would
not
use-
just looking at your hand, it's looking at what's happening with your competitors.
So would you put okay, so this is interesting. They have 4 6s down. So these 3 6s are, if it was jacks or kings, it would be 10 points each. These are only 5 points each. These are 4 safe discards because we know they can't pick the pack with 6s because we have the other 4.
However, we have 2 5s that are dead cards that are
Yep.
safe, and we have a 9. They're in 6th position with the 9.
So I would put out 3 of the 6s only in this situation because,
right.
we
We might need it. Yeah, fine.
And then where would you put the joker? Any preference?
Well, let's see what's 2, 4, 5. Well, you know, a lot of 4s were dumped. Maybe our partner has a queen. That's what I would guess.
And just to go back to those 6s, this was a rare occasion that I put out 3 of a card that the other team has 4. The only reason I did it is because I feel like they're about to end the round. All they need is a 9 or a 2, and they can end the round. because they have one canasta and they're almost closed on a second. Otherwise, I would have kept those sixes in hand for safe discards. So
Yeah.
now since the fives are closed, we'll throw a
I would
five.
throw the 9. It's a 10-point card.
Okay, so question for you on that. It's a 10-point card, but let's say our partner throws something and they pick the pack, and then that gives them the 9 to close
The
the 9.
9 to, yeah, that's another thought. Fine, yeah, then, yeah, throw the 5s. Yeah,
Because they
5
can't pick
points.
the 9, but they can pick the pack later. All right, so they had a
Well,
while.
they closed out the wild. All right, so next time. Well, they're closed out. Now let's see what our partner does. Do they have anything else to put
Oh,
down?
good.
Yay.
Well-
So we picked the right card, the queen, because we saw all the 4s that had been.
Oh,
they
wow,
had-
look at that.
Oh,
So that's
good.
another reason where people get confused. How do you know until you put cards down? Until if you're playing with a middle base of 5, until you're at the 5, your wild cards aren't helpful. So it
Correct.
is a big dance of knowing when to put things down. The reason we hurried up and put things down is because computer 3 got down to 2 cards. And when you're playing in person, when you get down to 3 cards, you're supposed to announce it, which everybody should see your cards anyway. They should be, being held above the table. Well, now this
Right.
is an easy discard because we know we don't want them to be
Wait a
stuck.
minute, though. We want to put, wait. You
Oh,
want to
yeah,
put
yeah,
the
the
jack
jack.
on the jacks and put the
Sure.
6 up.
Yep.
Okay, and now we get rid of the 7.
No. So the rule about ending the round is you can only ask your partner one time per round, and you must ask before you put any cards down.
Now you'll throw the 9.
Yeah. So if you already started melding, it is then too late to ask to go out. You have to wait till the next round. Or you could just go out without asking, but that's, that could be risky.
Well, if you're coming up to the last card or two,
Right.
and you're watching what's happened with your partner, have they picked the discard pile?
So the only cards we have that are closed are 5-point cards, the 5 and the 4. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they'd pick it at this point, but he had 1-8.
So we are not going to be the team member to go out in this round because we're not going to be able to get rid of 2 7s and an ace or 2 aces and a 7. I think at this point it would be too risky to get rid of all of those
Absolutely.
cards. So we're hoping that
Oh,
partner can.
Yeah.
And the 100-point bonus that you get for going out is not worth risking throwing an ace or a 7 to the other team to get pure aces and 7s.
Oh, they closed out their 8s. They were lucky with wild. Okay, it's going to be a pretty even round. Oh,
So we don't have
ripped.
any melds of 5 natural cards. We do have
Throw the 8. Yeah, we're
yeah,
going to throw the
the
8.
10-point card. Oh, so now we have 2 4s. No, hey, when you're towards the end, all those 3s add up when you just pick 3s.
Yeah, well, that's a good time to. So, and you know what I like about RealCanasta? They're showing us our score. If you look at the black box, ours says 2090 and theirs says 1800. I thought we were pretty close. And the couple of 3s put us over. I think
And the reason the round total is different than our score is you're deducting the cards in hand, and we had some high value cards in hand. We had the
Yes.
20, 40, 60, 80, 100. And it's interesting, when our partner threw an ace late in the round, I was thinking they had wild cards because that late in the round, you're not going to throw. There were a lot of aces being thrown.
Right. And remember, you can't throw a wild card unless they're the only cards in your hand.
Right.
I haven't seen it that much on RealCanasta, but particularly when you're playing with a meld base of 5, you're going to end up with wild cards. It's just
And what Donna was talking about, the black box with the score, that is an option. So when you're playing live, you don't get to see the current count. You could guesstimate it, but you don't know it. So some people feel it's a crutch, some people like it, but you could turn it off and on right there. Okay, so let's sort our cards. And this is my typical, well, of course, then I pick that, but
Well, and let's look at the points needed to open. We need 155. They need 125.
so
So
I
that-
think, I mean, as much as the pairs hand with wilds looks great, because we have the aces, the twos, and the sevens.
that is
I wouldn't get rid of the 4 this quickly because zip code comes in very
zip
easily.
code.
So I
Right.
would get rid of the 6 at this point, since we need
Yep.
more high point cards.
Right, right. I agree. And folks, zip code is the most made hand. And here's another case in point.
If we pick, so we have 1, 2, 3, we have twos, aces, fours, fives, tens. If we pick one more of any of those cards, then we could have many different options to complete that zip code. So between the king and the king, any preference?
Yeah, take the N1, yeah, doesn't matter. And we need to think about a zip code here. We don't have the points to open. Ugh, it's
And then sometimes, just for helping, you need the 2 for the aces. Sometimes it's helpful for people to put the wild card with what they're going to meld it with, and then put these down, because technically we really only have 115 points, because we can't use these fives yet. Because you need, there are only 2. Every meld must be at least 3 cards and must have at least 2 natural cards. So sometimes it's helpful to see it that way. The reason there's no mismelding penalty in RealCanasta, and this is a good lesson for in-person games, is when you see if you have enough points, they put the cards face down until you open. So no one's seeing your cards. So if no one's seeing them, there's no penalty. So if you're not sure and you need that visual reminder, you could take your cards out of your tray or hold them in your hand, put them face down and count. Okay, 20 ace, 22 point. And then if you're not melding, you don't have enough points, put them back since no one saw them.
right. And that's the way I teach. And for all of us, because we've all miscounted.
If you miscount and it's face up, it's 10-point penalty for your team to open, and your partner, it can't be collusion. Like, Canasta is a very, very level playing field game, and you see it in many aspects of the game. If I tried to open right now and my partner saw this, they know I have 2 aces. So then when they opened, if they happen to have, if let's say the other team hadn't opened yet, if they have 4 aces in hand, they would know, oh, we only need 1 more ace to close up pure canasta. So if you mismeld with aces, sevens, or show any wild cards, then your partner cannot open with pure aces, sevens, or a wild card meld. And that's really kind of a tournament style rule, but it makes sense in home games
Right,
too.
so we're gonna throw the 9.
Yeah, so the 9, if you see, is in 5th position, so they cannot pick that card.
And it's not gonna help us in getting to our goal of either opening or a pairs or a special.
Interesting. So here
Oh,
comes the
2
decision.
sevens.
So
Wow.
we have all pairs here except for the king. So if we throw this 4, all we need is a king for that hand. So it's funny because before I played Canasta, I never thought I would love a partnership game as much. If we throw the 4, it's preventing us from opening. But if our partner opens, we're setting ourselves up to pick the pack because we have so many pairs. So what would
Right.
you do here?
Well, and we're not close enough to a zip code
Mm-mm.
because we have so many pairs. If we had a triple of something, I'd say differently, but and the thing, folks, about a
A
pairs
triple
hand,
other than the 4s, you mean? Is that
right, because we're not set for, I don't think we're set for a zip code because you need 4 of a kind. You have to pick a king, and a pairs hand is much harder than zip code. That's why we advocate for 1,500 instead of 2,500. But in this case, yeah, I'd throw the 4. Wow, when they didn't pick it. Well, that's good.
I always look, when you throw a card, if they pick the pack, their screen turns yellow right away. So you know that they're about to pick it. It's
Oh,
funny.
they're throwing fours. King, king. No.
All
Oh,
right.
you gotta throw the 8, I guess, or the king, but
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, interesting.
Huh. Yeah.
So, oh, I guess it only turns yellow when they're going to open, when they're picking the pack to open.
And we don't know why
So
our
now,
partner.
so
we
now
got
this is
some-
interesting. If they throw a king, the most widely played rule is that you cannot pick the pack to get a special hand. However, if there's one card on an empty pack that completes your special, RealCanasta allows you to pick the pack for a special hand. So if they throw a king, while we don't have that as the main rule, well, they didn't, so it doesn't matter, but we don't have that as the most widely played rule, but we discuss it in our book as a very popular house rule. The reason we feel that it isn't the main rule, as Donna pointed out to me, is in order to pick the pack, you need a pair. So if we had points, and we wouldn't do it because we'd only be getting one card, but if we had the points, we have a pair of 5s, we could pick the pack. You only pick the pack if it gives you to open, if it gives you more than the talon would give you. If we were going for a special and that 5 was a king, we don't have a pair of kings. So you're kind of going against the rule of needing a pair to pick the pack. So that's why we don't feel it's the main rule, but we recognize that RealCanasta does accept it and that it is a very popular house rule.
Right, and we don't think it's a fair rule because, yeah, we're gonna throw the ace. They have
Yeah.
aces. Because those special hands are so valuable. Why make it easy? You know, it flies in the face of what the normal rule is for picking the pack and giving a team thousands of points.
So if you see anything that's in 4 or more cards, we can't close. So we can't close aces, 10s, 4s, 8s, and then any of the ones they're closed. So we really need us or our partner to get a special.
Ugh, what a time to pick a joker.
Yeah. So got to throw the king. So we could still get a special if we pick a joker. There's only one that we see. I don't remember what was in the 9s. And
Yeah.
you know that the 9s have wild cards because if there's a black card on top, it is
Oh,
a
here we are picking it again.
mixed canasta.
And it looks
So
like we're gonna.
our partner must have a lot of wild cards because or that sometimes the bots just delay in putting them out, but they have a lot of cards in the 5th position and they're not adding wild cards.
Yeah, let's see, are we gonna be lucky? No.
Jack.
Ugh.
So I think the only thing we could close, I think, looking quickly or
Oh,
our
our
little
partner got a
partner.
special.
I was
Yay!
gonna say the only thing we could close is the 5s, but wow,
And
we got.
look what special they got. Speaking of
Yep.
the
Zip
zip
code.
code hand.
So it actually turned out to be, look at that round total, very, very close round because of that.
Right, and technically, I don't think we should have gotten 2,500 points for that, but that's
Yeah.
the way they're playing. We don't feel it's fair.
Oh, wow, look at all the 3s that we got.
So what's the opening points? Let's check in
So we
about
need
that as we
180
start.
and they need 155. So look at how funny that they're just shy of 5,000. So,
Right, right.
okay, so we have a bunch of pairs. Oh, look at that. So I would say since we need 180, let's get rid of the lowest point card.
Yes, that's the time. Yeah, and we've got 6s there, for,
I don't know what it is, if it's the jinx of the 180. I always say whenever I'm at 180, I always get 4, 5s, and 6s. It just,
yes, well,
at 125, you get aces and kings and queens, and then you get to 180 and you get 4s, 5s, and 6s.
right, our partner threw a 7, interesting, so they've got 2.
So either they have 2 or they're going for a special.
Uh-huh.
So at this
So-
point, so my philosophy, and this is Dara on card strategy, or not strategy, superstitions. I feel like people feel that jacks, queens, and kings are more valuable, even though they're the same points as an 8, 9, 10. So I feel like if I'm waiting for a card, I'll get rid of a face card that I have a single of rather than an 8. I feel like that's just something
Yeah,
that
yeah,
So we're set
We're-
up pretty nicely for a special.
A
And
zip code.
yeah. And we have very similar special hands to RealCanasta. A few different values. For the zip code, we do 1500, and we don't think that a dream hand, which is 5 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 5 on RealCanasta, in our book, we didn't include that. And we discuss it. We have a section in our book that's called, wait, not card cues. Why am I having a blank of what we call that? The little box where you and I discuss
Oh,
it.
yeah.
What's the deal? What's the deal?
What's
So
the deal? Yeah.
we discuss Dara on a thought, Donna on a thought, and you kind of see how we agree and disagree on certain things. For a dream hand to be able to end the entire game just doesn't seem fair to us, because it's a partnership game, and one person getting lucky with getting 5 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind, we don't feel like, you're planning to play with friends. You sit down, somebody gets that, and the game's over. So, all right, so let's get rid of the 10. So yeah, so we're definitely not getting to 180 unless we get a big joker.
And they're 155. They have to have, the
Mhm.
big guys also. So this is the time you really think about special hands.
Yeah. This is good. This one game gave a lot of different
Yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah.
Well, our
Partner through
partner
a
really
second
is getting rid of
7,
7s, yeah.
and they're opening, so they must have some jokers. Which to me is fine, because I don't want to pick a joker now. I want to get set up for a zip code. They've got the 2 big jokers. You can't open at these high points unless, ugh,
Yeah, so we'll keep that.
yeah. We had to throw that. It was a single card. We didn't want to throw the ace.
So now if you're counting, you're gonna wipe the slate clean for aces and 7s. We know computer 1 has some because our partner threw at least 2 7s. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, our partner's opening.
interesting. Hopefully they're doing 4 6s or jacks or kings.
Yeah. Let's see. And they've got 2
Ah, so we
jokers.
only matched with kings. That's interesting.
All right.
So they use the 9s. It's interesting that they put the 2 jokers on the 9s. I would have chosen to put a joker on the kings, because we're not going to close the 9s.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it made more sense. So I'm just going to pause here for a
Absolutely.
second. The other team, computer 3, had 6 cards on the 9 meld. So there's no way our team could close 9s. King is a fresh card. They shouldn't have wasted the joker on the 9. They should have put it on the king to get us closer to a canasta.
You mean split it, put one
Yeah.
on the 9s, and because
Yeah.
we need a pure and the queens with a pure.
Exactly.
Yes, good point. You want to look at what they've got up there. Now, let's see, nobody's melded aces, so.
Well, since they already have, there's 22 cards left, but they already
Yeah.
have 2 canastas. They're
we
close to
we
closing
close out
10.
the kings.
I mean, we won't close them, but we'll be pretty close.
We could put our 2 2s on there.
Oh, well, there's already 1 2. So 1 2 3 4. There will only
Oh,
have,
there's already 1 2. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
I mean, we could hold it for 1 round and see if
Well,
they.
I would hold it for 1 round to see, because it's not going to get us to a canasta.
So what card would you try to bait them with? A 4, a 6, or a jack? Or would
They've
you
got-
throw an ace?
Our partner hasn't thrown aces yet. It's a good question. Is this the bots are going to follow our leads. They're going to, if we throw an ace, they're going to throw an ace. So I don't think so.
And they are impeccable counters. If they will get to 7, they will pick the pack every time. They do not miscount when it comes to that.
I don't remember what's been thrown. We don't have a 10. I guess it's a 6 or a 4. All right.
Well, better to do it now. Which is interesting, because I think they have more than 2 7s. So that just prevented them from getting rid of one of them. They pick the pack, and their partner is trying. So what's a good idea is, if your partner just picked a big pack that had a lot of aces and 7s, and you have them in hand, you feed the pack with them. So then if they get to pick the pack, they'll be able to pick it when they could, complete that. So eights
And
are a
throw the
great
eight.
one. Are we still
Yep.
waiting to put the kings down?
Because they're not going out. They've got sevens in there, we think. Yeah, one more time. Oh, they closed out sixes.
Well, I always look at that as now we have two safe cards. So
Yes, true. And they'll need 180 to open, and we, it might balance things out.
so we can't pick the pack because it's a
This-
closed card.
Yeah.
So it's a, okay, so
Oh,
now
so here's the
definitely
queen.
gonna
That's
put the
it.
queen
So
because
that's
we want to
5,
at least
6,
protect
7.
our threes.
Yeah. And
Now I think we
we're
put our
not
king down.
soused. Yeah,
Yeah.
we put the kings down.
And hope our partner has at least one more and a wild card.
6. We throw the. Would you put the jacks down? We have
So
3
it's
jacks.
interesting. If we put the fours and the jacks down, then they would know we're ready, we're close to going out. There's only 13 cards left, so that's not that big of a deal. If we were in the same exact position with 30 cards left, I would not. With 13, I think we just put everything down.
Because what are we
We're not
gonna
gonna pick
pick?
the pack this late.
Yeah, what are we gonna pick that's gonna get us to another, and maybe we'll match. Our partner doesn't have a lot of stuff, but oh well.
So we talk in the book about strategy, beginning of a round, middle of a round, end of round, as well as end of game. And we're at the end of the round. We have so many threes. We would love to get to a second canasta to give us that bump. But really at this point, it's kind of in our partner's hands because the sixes can't help us. It's a dead card. We don't want to throw the ace. So we're just kind of hoping to match and just get a second canasta. That was a delay.
Mhm. They closed it. Okay, stuff.
So this is good. So now if our partner has any wilds, they could not add any wilds yet because we didn't have any with 5. So now our jacks have 5 natural cards. We're going to get rid of this. The danger of getting rid of this 6 now is if we pick an ace, we'd have to throw an ace this late in the game.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would have maybe waited to put down the 4s.
Mhm.
But the jacks we matched, so we took a chance to, and we've got a second canasta now, so we could go out.
So we're hoping for a 9, a king, or a 4, and then we can go out. We got.
You should ask her. Do you
So
want to ask the
we
partner?
can ask them to go out, but since we're
5
going to do
cards.
it anyway, there's really no need to because they only have 2 cards. So
Right.
even if they had 2 aces or 2 sevens, there's no way they could be in any penalty. So, oh my God, I didn't know they closed the 9s.
Yes, they closed the
Forgot
9.
about that. All right,
All right.
so we can't
I
go out,
thought-
but at least we have a dead card. And you know,
Right,
it's
and-
funny. Sometimes I do that because the 9 and the 6 look alike, but in this case, I should have known because the 9 and the 6 are both closed.
Okay, and they closed out another canasta.
And they just threw a 7, so they might still be heavy on 7s. Oh,
Ugh.
shoot. All right. I hope they don't have, oh God, this is not a good one.
No, I don't think we're loaded. Oh, boy.
Oh, well.
They had
Oh, so that's
7.
interesting. So they're doing an offset because they didn't add any more aces. Oh, wait, nope. Oh, God. All right, we're so they closed the 7s, but not the aces. So we hope our partner has 1 because we have 1.
Oh, wow.
Oh
Wow.
my God, look at that. So that was their last ditch effort. So even though we threw them the aces, we got enough points to hold them off and win.
How did we get enough points to win? We had, wow.
Because so that shows the value of 3s. We had 1,000 points of 3s.
That's where we swung. So just as a look, we came out fine, we won. Would you have
In hindsight, keeping the 4s would have been good because then we would, but at the time, I don't think they had 4 4s out. I think they
so
just,
we didn't know which was going to be the magic bullet for our partner. And I guess
we wanted If we didn't do what we did, we wouldn't have had a second canasta.
Yeah.
So
we wouldn't have
but that
won.
shows how many different decisions there are. I mean, it's such a game of nuanced decisions throughout the whole round. This easily could have gone the other way if the other team had one more turn. That's why
Yep.
and they did have the ace in their hand. If they got a turn, they would have closed aces.
Oh, wow. Do you see how close that was? Wow. So it's as we've said from the beginning of writing our book, this is a game of nuanced decision making, and it's a game of luck also.
Well,
so
but you put yourself into luck sometimes. And
sometimes.
of course I say when I lose, it's luck.
Well,
But
but look in this situation, if they had one more turn, they would have closed out the aces. Our decisions were to put down 3 fours and 3 jacks of hoping of getting a second canasta, but we left ourselves with no cards.
yeah. But I'm
Row.
pretty sure they didn't have those 4-4 downs because I don't think we would have put the fours down if they did.
No, they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't.
Yeah.
They got them in the pack when they picked it. So here we are.
So I
Okay.
think that showed a lot of different, here, I'll exit, I'll stop sharing. And go to Zoom. Let's see. So I think that showed a lot of different aspects of the game. If you want to learn more, you could check out our other videos on YouTube. And remember, when you go to YouTube, it's at Modern American Canasta. If you're on Facebook, we have Modern American Canasta as well. And if you are looking to learn to play, we are starting on November 12th, a 4-class series. Do you want to tell them about it so I could get Sprout to stop barking?
We are starting a 4-part virtual series. If you can't attend one, we are recording them and you will have access to the lesson you missed. We have good supportive handouts and we hope you will join us. So we're going to close this out and thank everybody for coming. And stay tuned. We'll be doing more.
Have a great day.
Bye for now.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed this Game On. We invite you to check out Modern American Canasta, the complete guide on Amazon. We are your Canasta hotline. There's so many ways to stay in touch, including Facebook, YouTube, and our email is modernamericancanasta@gmail.com. If you're looking to host an event or have presentations on strategy or learning the game, send us an email. We hope you get all the cards you need in hand.